for assisting me in this lesson planning.
Of course.
Appreciate it so much. And we had talked earlier on the phone about this lesson.
Yep.
And I was hoping we'd get to some of the particulars about the lesson plan, and particularly first dealing with some of the expected learning outcomes.
Yeah, well, you were saying that over the phone you were saying that you wanted to do something around statistics and data,
right,
or probability, and so there's a good statistics lesson that gets into mean, median, and mode, which are the first three things that that generally are taught at this level.
Okay.
So it would be a good introduction lesson. It's stuff that they need to know for data representation, for different ways of representing data. So it's a good introductory lesson.
Okay, wonderful. How would we go about accessing their prior knowledge of the lesson?
You could ask them to share with each other what they know about the terms. You could put the terms on the board and ask if they've ever heard of them before or what they know about them.
Okay.
Share out, anything that they can tell you. Those are a couple of good ways to access prior knowledge.
I was hoping also to get an idea of maybe what sequence I could use in this lesson, what I should do first, what I might.
I think you're on the right track, like you were saying, accessing prior knowledge, and then going into a hands-on activity that using data that I think we discussed this data that we've collected the day before or earlier that day. That way, you're not taking up the lesson time collecting data, and use that data because it makes it more relevant. It gives more ownership. Using that data to discover the meaning of mean, median, and mode through some kind of hands-on activity.
Okay. Good. I was just hoping that we would also, how would this essentially fit into a larger framework of dealing with data?
Well, statistics and probability is definitely one of the standards at this grade level, and using mean, median, and mode is used throughout all the data representations. They have them go through stem and leaf plots, Boston whisker plot, any kind of bar graph, any kind of circle graph. Just knowing what measures of central tendency mean and how they relate to the data is important at this level. And so this is a good introductory lesson.
It is good introductory to the idea of using data, statistics, and then the visual representation of that. That's great. That's something I'm looking for. How would I incorporate the idea of equity in this lesson to make sure that the lesson is differentiated toward even perhaps many of the English language learners that we have here at SciTech in your math class?
Using the math vocabulary, the rich math vocabulary that we're using, and then defining it in a simpler way. So using simpler language to define the different concepts that they'll be learning once they've learned mean, median, and mode. And then the hands-on activity will bring about visually what those concepts mean, and having them discuss with each other in their own words what those mean will definitely give access to all students.
Well, great.
Yeah.
And certainly I'm also hoping to use the idea of the constructivist theory and sociocultural environment in this lesson. How would I go about that?
Well, the cups and chips, definitely representing the data, having them distribute the chips into the cups, representing a data point, having them perhaps graph it on a graph so they can see the concept of mode, that the line that has the most cups is the mode because it shows up the most. And then having them line up the cups in another way, and count off the median, so find the middle of that data, and then have that discussion that median is middle, that mode is the most, and then redistributing the chips. I think that's the biggest visual, is redistributing the chips so that they discover
Good afternoon, students. I'm Mr. Williams, and we're going to be looking today at what we refer to as a lesson in probability and statistics. Any idea? Okay. We'll look to the back. Maryland, you have any idea what statistics might refer to in probability? Oh, Maryland? Okay, well, let me just let you know. Anyone have any idea what the word probability or statistics refers to? Okay. Well, one thing we need to be certain of is that probability and statistics always involve the use of data. And who can tell me what data refers to? What is data? Okay. Any idea? Okay. Data basically is a collection of numbers. Okay. It represents the counting of things, and things that we count and we make note of. And so prior, and then these numbers on the board, I want you to take a good look at these numbers that we collected as a class earlier. And these numbers represent, you were asked to, and many of the students were asked, 24 of SciTech students were asked earlier to prepare for this lesson, and they were asked about the number of siblings that were there in their home, in their household. And so you see we got a series of data here, and these 24 numbers and digits represent the number of siblings that were present or are now in SciTech household of these 24 students. And so we're going to use this data to get an idea of what the concept of three particular words that are the beginnings of what you have to understand represent the beginnings of use with probability and statistics. And for example, let me write here on the board, and I'm going to write three words up on the board. I want someone, and many of you, to reflect about what you think these words represent and what they have been and what you understand. Then, the first word is mode. Okay? The second word is median. Okay? The third word is mean. Now, I want you to take a minute, students, and look at those words. And I want to see what experience you may have had in your mathematics, in your Algebra 1 class here at SciTech. Do you know what these words particularly refer to? Very good. I like that definition. Anyone else have an idea? Darrell? Okay, DeAndre? Any idea what mode might represent? Are you you feel that she defined, Erica there gave us the proper definition of the word mode? Okay, it's the number or statistic that is most represented. Okay, how about the word median, class? Okay, I want to call on someone else. Okay, Allie, do you have any idea what this word median? The one that is in the middle. Okay, and who can tell me now? Look at these 24 digits here are statistics. Who can tell me how would we find out which number represents the median? Any idea? Any idea? How would you know what was in the middle? How would you know which number is in the middle? This starts with 3 and ends with 6. Any idea? Yes, Erica.
You have to put it from highest to low.
You have to go very, very good. You have to go from here. I want to get someone else. It's the what? You have to add them, not only add them, but what do you have to also do? You have to divide by what? The what? What number? You said the number. What number? The what? Yeah, whatever. The total number that you have. Very, very good. So mean is the numbers being the sum of each number divided by the total number of numbers. Very good. I like the definition you have here. Now, we're going to do an exercise now that's going to give you some idea, students, of what we've already expressed. Because I want you, first of all, to understand clearly, visually, how and what the particular concepts in statistics are from mode, mean, and median. We're going to use some manipulatives at this time, and I'm going to ask each student in an orderly manner to come up, and you're going to take some of the manipulatives that we have here. One consists of some chips and about 5 cups and a marker.
It keeps going in and out. No, I know.
Okay, let's get some further instruction and direction what we're going to be doing. You're going to place on your desk 4 empty cups. One of the cups is going to contain your chips. Okay? And then I'm going to write your first initial, okay, under 4 numbers. Since we have 6 students, each one of you are going to be getting a set of data which represents about 4 numbers, okay? So I'm going to go here, okay? First 4 I'm going to assign to Narelle. The next 4, okay, is going to be assigned to Marilyn. The next 4.
Wait.
Yes.
Cut off right there.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That should be cut off there. Fine, thank you. Okay, very good. Okay, the next 4 here, we're going to give to that's Yesenia, Erica, and then the last 4 here, I'm not a good artist, will be given to Allie. Okay? Now, you're going to take each cup, and you're going to put the number that you see, the number of chips in each cup. For instance, Darrell, you're going to take 3 chips, should be in 1 cup, 6 chips, Darrell, and 6 and a cup, 6 chips should be in another cup, and then the last cup should have 5. And we're going to look at this concept of mode right now. We're going to physically see and how we can represent the idea of mode. Count, and you get all your chips that represent your particular 4 digits of statistical data. You're going to do something for me right now, and you can see here's a chart. How many siblings do SciTech students have is the question. Over here on the vertical is the number of students, and then across the horizontal axis is actually what you have in each cup. In other words, the actual data that we collected from SciTech students. Okay, I'm going to put this down here, and each one of you, and I'm going to start with Darrell, you're going to walk up with those 4 cups, and you're going to take the number that you have and place it in the right column. Everybody see that? I got 3 chips in this cup, so I'm going to place that in the column. Okay, yeah, so don't something I forgot, you want to make sure you write the number. That's what you do with the marker. Write the number of chips that you have on each cup. Make sure we and you've got 4 cups, and you have to place them in the right column. Yes, you want to get up direct and place them in the right column based upon 3665. Okay, very good. Next. Okay, thank you, Marilyn. Okay, DeAndre? Don't mind? Thank you. And you should be getting a quick idea of what we're doing. We're trying to discover, what exactly visually mode is represented by data, statistics. Okay, so Eric. Thank you. Okay, who can see a pattern forming here? Okay. Okay, last is Alex. Thank you, Alex. You guys are doing an extremely great job right now. Okay, now we have physically placed. I'm sorry, did I miss you? Thank you. You get up. You see me? I'm sorry, I missed you. Thank you. Very, very good. Can everybody see the board we have here? Okay. And if you can get an idea, you remember someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Erica and DeAndre mentioned earlier, the definition of mode was the number or statistic that appeared what? Most what?
Repeated.
Most repeated or most often. And so if we look at this chart here, what is the mode? 2. Okay, everybody can see that the mode represents what, Erica? Okay, can you stand up? You can stand up at this time. Just take a look. I want everybody to see, get an idea. Stand up if you have to. Okay? You can stand up. Just stand up just for a moment. Okay? Everybody can see the board? Okay? And you can see what number appears most often. Okay? So if you can write that down, out of all these 24 statistics, a SciTech student who gave data for the number of siblings in their household or family, okay, out of SciTech, 24 SciTech students in this class, 2 represents the number of siblings. That represents the mode. Isn't that wonderful? Hey, everybody should get the concept of what mode. Okay, remember that concept. You're going to need it for our reflection later. Okay, very, very good. Let me erase. Okay, now we're going to look at the next thing. And it's called median.
During this time in the video, I was having some technical difficulties, and throughout the rest of the lesson, I'll do this small narration. What's happening in the video at this time is that we are organizing the students, and they are listening to explanation in reference to the idea of figuring out the mean or average. At this point, they are being told that the data that is available for them and we are together figuring out the mean or average. They are working together in small groups at this point, as I am grouping the data together by series of 4 digits and summing up the 4 digits so that we can provide the total for the data, and we're going to be getting not only the sum of the numbers, but we're going to be dividing the sum by the total number of data that's represented to reach the mean. Here I'm asking students, particularly about what they are computing on their calculators. Before this actual point in the video, we went through and they were able to, that is not shown in the video, they were able to put the same amount through the manipulatives. They were able to put the same amount of chips in each cup, and now we are illustrating that particular visual through math computation of the total sum of the numbers divided by the quantity that we have. What is missing in the audio at this point is that we are, I am asking students to assist me in the actual computation. As I'm asking them questions, there are some discrepancies about their sum amounts. I'm simply at this point asking students and seeing if they are summing things up correctly. This is certainly as simple as the computation may be. We are never forgetting the some students at SciTech still need redundancy and review of basic number theory using the multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So this is another way that the lesson reaches down to differentiate between the different skill levels across the SciTech diversity of student abilities and grade level. Here finally is the assessment part of the lesson, and what's occurring here is that toward the end of the lesson, after we have visually represented the idea of a mode via a bar graph median, students have gotten an idea of what that would represent visually. We also have gone in and showed the average by students putting the same amount of chips in each cup to represent a visual of the hands-on activity during the lesson. Here, finally, as an a assessment in the end of the lesson, I put together a series of random data numbers, and the students now must work in groups. Two students that are sitting opposite each other are a small series of groups, and they must work hand in hand to figure out and use this data and figure out what the idea of mode of median and mean would, now that they have the concept clearly in mind through use of the manipulatives in this lesson. They are being assessed at this time, a formal assessment at the end of the lesson to see how well they're able to figure out together the concepts and come up with the right representation in computation for mode, medium, and mean. If we still had audio during this time, you can see some of conversations between students as they discuss, and you can see some group work is going on at this point between two students as they discuss and compare particular results that they are getting toward one another. So this is once some example. I attempted at this point to have them work and share and think out some cognitive relationships in reference to their understanding of mode, mean, and median. So after they've had a chance to work collectively with one another, collaboratively with one another, then I'm investigating their particular results at this point to see if they're consistent with the actual median of this data set of numbers. So you can see at this point in the video also continual talk between students about their results, and there's some collaboration is going on. At this point, I'm cueing the two students about some of their results, and what they were able to obtain in reference to the computations of central tendency of these numbers. So after this particular assessment task, at this point I am reiterating to them, and we are talking discorsely together to reaffirm the concepts of central tendency represented by mean, mode, and median. So at this point, I'm very pleased with their results, and we at this point are going into the debriefing.
Your strengths and weaknesses were in the lesson.
I think I struggled with the questions in the beginning. I think I should have motivated the students to a greater open-ended discourse, to access their prior knowledge instead of just questioning and specific answers in the lesson. I'm going to have to get a little better at extending and creating discourse with academic discourse with students. I think that would be something I need to improve.
I don't know if you've discussed this in any of your classes, but just piggybacking on what you just said, and I agree with you.
Okay.
Absolutely. And piggybacking on what you just said, the one thing that I had the most difficult time with when I was student teaching was wait time.
Okay.
Wait time. Not trying to fill up that silence by talking because you're nervous that the students are responding. You know, give them time and just stop. And I actually had to use a stop. I used to count in my head 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, because I tend to talk a lot, and so I have to know when to shut up and when to do wait time, and that's it's a struggle for it was a struggle for me. So, but that's just one thing that you were discussing here, and I think that would help your discussion tremendously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful, because I want to I wanted to create, I think by discussions you create the interest, you
Yeah.
create the motivation
Yeah.
in the lesson, and I thought this was a great lesson to start off by asking them to collect data
Right.
about the number of siblings that they
Yeah.
have in their homes, and I think I could have created a greater interest in this lesson through that real life example. I want kids to be able to make the transition from the numbers, from the counting and the arithmetic
Right.
into real life
Excellent.
experiences. So.
What prior experiences, knowledge, and skills help the students succeed with the learning experience?
I think the visual. I think the idea of the using the manipulatives and them visually seeing the idea. In fact, in first at Mode was very startling visually in the graph that I set out, and having them visually see the idea of the largest number of cups in the bar graph, I think was significant in helping them get a deeper concept of the idea of mode.
Okay. And on the next question, what elements of practice need to change in order to improve student learning and participation, which I think we touched on a bit.
We touched on that. I think I didn't quite achieve the grouping that the working together.
Okay.
I think we saw in my lesson some conversation between students and them sharing ideas, but I'd like to, if I ever get a chance to teach this lesson again, I would like to see more conversation and work between students themselves and what they can bring to the conversation lesson and the experience in learning.
Was there something missing in the instructional or learning sequence that you found?
I think some of the students struggled with the getting the visual average. I think many of them had issues with seeing the concept of or even figuring out that average is represented by having equal amount of cups. I think I would work on that area. I think I would cue students and better with questions and get them to actually see that element. I think the mode went well. The median went well. I think the average. I think they struggled with the visual average. Some students I could see were confused during that part of the lesson.
What instructional approaches do you think could be used to make student participation more equitable?
I think the idea of using hands-on provided differentiation in this lesson. I think maybe coming up with a different idea of assessment in this case, and I had in this lesson where I gave them other numbers to use, and I think that particular part can be altered or changed. I would like to have them maybe also write some things, maybe a KWL type function, to get a verbal understanding, a dialogue, what they actually learned in this lesson.
Excellent. I think we've answered most of these questions. How does the theoretical perspective on learning that you applied help you make sense of your instructional practices and outcomes?
thinking about changes to the open-ended questions, the writing part of the assessment in this lesson, and particularly because of the lack of maybe being able to use a constructivist theory, and I don't think I quite adequately got enough prior knowledge from them in the definitions of these three terms, or understanding central tendency, and then the grouping, the verbal interchange of academic language in this lesson, and using those terms, understanding those concepts. I think my lack of causing that to happen, I think, is going to change the way in which I apply social cultural theory to this lesson. I think both can be included.
Going back to the instructional approaches that can be used to make student participation more equitable, that's a difficult one, I think.
Okay.
And maybe we didn't plan in enough accountability.
Okay.
And I think that maybe that was a big part of it. Because I noticed that students were asked to participate, but what was making them accountable for participating? You know, what was holding them accountable to the task that they were being asked to do? And for the most part, I think they participated pretty well. Yeah, but again, you know, we have a small group, and with a big class, sometimes we need something to hold them accountable, something to, a little, maybe there was a missing piece there. I'm not, I can't put my finger on it, but
maybe
looking back on it in retrospect, I think that yeah, there could be a little more accountability built in, and yeah, that's all I noticed. But I think other than that, yeah.
Right. Maybe
I think your comments are right on.
We could somehow have them create a bar graph of the assessment data, or some kind of scatter plot,
I like that.
Of that nature.
I like that.
And maybe that would help us with some individual
I think
accountability.
That so often, you know, we do group work, and we forget to make sure that all students are participating and assess them individually. And a lot of times I think that that's where we fall down with cooperative groups.
Right.
Is that we tend to just look at the group as a whole and not the students as individuals. And so it is good to have individual accountability as well as group accountability.
Right.
I think both are really important. And so yeah, that's good. I like those ideas. You have some good ideas to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So,
thank you, Ms. Geyer, for your time.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed this lesson. One of my first, and I hope to have
it won't be your last.
more.